Good morning, everybody. As Jill was saying, this isn't about teaching you all how to mark. From Ofsted, it's very clear that we do know how to mark. And it's just the subtlety between knowing how to mark and what is consistently accepted as practice in the school you work. Does that make sense? Yeah? So we're all good markers. I've worked in 4 previous schools, been commended for my marking. However, if you were to look at some of my books right now, this very minute, I'd be shot out of the water. Because I'm not, in all cases, following consistently the school's marking policy. So today's just about, let's revisit them. Let's speak about, talk them through, about why we're doing them. And I wanted to also dispel some myths. There are 1 or 2 myths hanging around with some people surrounding marking. So what I hope to achieve, and what we should be hoping to achieve today, is why was the marking policy redesigned? So why did we look at it and say, this needs overhauling? Okay. I also wanted us to discuss what the key features were, and ultimately, how should this impact your marking and feedback? Okay. So when we were looking at this policy, and we realised early on, in fact, Kate and I got together, I'd say probably about a year ago, and when we were told that the new assessment and levelling systems were coming into place, we realised that the marking policy was out of date. So we realised straight away that it wasn't going to work. But some of the rationale was quite simple. The old system was far too complicated. And I know some might argue that the current system has too many symbols. In fact, the old one was far too complicated and had a whole range of symbols that, in fact, you probably wouldn't find in anyone's marking. What is the point of marking if your pupils are unclear of the expectations and the feedback you're offering? What's the point of spending hours marking, hours offering feedback, hours putting symbols into work, trying to extend your learners if they're not being extended? Also, a lot of you said that it was unworkable, too stressful, too work intensive, and we're trying to listen. And if you can't offer clarity of feedback, then what would be the point of any marking system? If it isn't clear to the end user, ultimately that's who we're after here. It's about offering our young people consistency of feedback and having the evidence to say that they're making progress as a result of it. That to me would be a fabulous end to a marking policy. Okay? The format, the previous format, was not linked to our new levelling and progress systems. The idea of 1, 2 and 3 now works and naturally fits the way we level our young people. They are either below, expected or above. 1, 2, 3. Quite consistent. Okay? And we were not marking smartly. We simply were not able to mark in a way that meant we were saving time, we were being efficient, and our young people were getting feedback when they needed it. And speaking to a lot of people in this room, the idea of trying to feed back in real time sounds like a glorious concept, but something we were not able to achieve. We hope that this system will and should be allowing you to get to that point. Okay? So what I thought we'd do is we talk through, and I know it's difficult to see, what's going to happen at some point today or tomorrow is you'll get a copy of the presentation in your pigeonholes just for further confirmation. But all this information can be found in the Teaching Expectations book from page 53. Okay? What you've got on here, quite clearly we believe, is a rationale at the top. Why are we redesigning our marking policy? You then have, at the very top, for those of you who are unclear, you then have our levelling guide. So, is a child below? Is a child above? Is a child as expected? And what we've tried to do is also give you some general feedback. So what the work should demonstrate, what the work should show. Okay? So when you're marking, you're sitting down and you're saying, right, well that work hits beyond the level I was expecting, so that is a grade 1. If it's where it should be, brilliant. Little Billy has hit the level I was expecting him to hit, that's a grade 2. I'm not happy with the work Little Billy has done, they're simply not putting the effort in, it's a grade 3. Clear? Okay, then the next box with explanation was set out so that you could offer and we could offer consistency in our feedback. So the idea is we should all, whether you're in English, whether you're in maths, science, computer science, wherever you are, you should be offering feedback on spelling and grammar. You should be offering feedback on layout and design of a young person's presentation of work. Okay? Because it isn't just English that should be doing this. A child should be able to link the fact that their marking, their expectations are the same in one area as opposed and compared to another. You also have punctuation. We also have grammar up there, obviously clearly labelled. We then have a double, well, we have the need and use of a new paragraph. Now, constantly, we are telling our young people that they need to structure their work in a specific way. And I think, from looking at, correct me if I'm wrong, that you can go from one subject to another, and though the feedback may be the same, the evidence of the feedback is different. So we had end users saying, we're not sure what the expectations are in science compared to maths, compared to English. A single child was receiving the same feedback, but in variances of 3 or 4. Now, we find it difficult enough as experienced professionals receiving feedback on a similar topic, but in 3 or 4 different formats, let alone a young child, a child who probably doesn't like being told that what they're doing isn't quite right. So the need for consistency is even more paramount there. Okay? Now, I'm not going to keep going through this bit here. At the very bottom is some additional guidance on what can be deemed as appropriate feedback. Okay? Right. Next, why do we use the yellow box? Now this, I've got to say, I have now slowly become a convert, because I am inherently lazy. If I can get away with something, I'll get away with it. But I realised over time, because it's taken me, I'm a cynic at heart, but I have realised that if we can all use the same system of feedback, the same system of expectation, ultimately the young people will respond without blinking. So why do we do the yellow box? It's clearly visible. There is an additional requirement we are asking of that young person at the end of a piece of work. They should be aware of it, it's there for all to see. And even more importantly, if you're anything like me, when I go back to my books in a bit, that yellow box, I've not responded to it. Or has the child responded to it? Because I teach up to 400 young people a week, I can't remember whether I've asked every single child to respond or not. And that's why this box really helps me. Secondly, it should be used to extend and stretch learners. Not in all cases. Don't just sit there and think every time I put something into a yellow box it should be there to really broaden the horizons. No, but it should be used from time to time to extend and to show progress. It should also be used, and this is one of my things, and this is what I'm starting to use it for, because this is saving me time, helping me mark more smartly, should be used to help me gauge a student's progress, enabling me to level them. What level are you at? And in that box over a period of time, I would use my levelling criteria. Where are they at the minute? What can they show? What can they justifiably present that can give me the evidence to either increase their level or to keep them at the level they are already at? Also, and I'm not going to go to the top one, we should be using it to stretch young people and to enable them to present key skills. We are all using the yellow box for the same reasons, to think about spelling, to think about grammar, to think about punctuation, to think about basically their overall key skills, then they are being confronted by it in every lesson. There is no reason for any child to then not at least address it, to see it as an issue, to act upon it. Okay? Right. I wanted to dispel some myths. All work should be levelled. No. No one is saying that. No one is saying that every time you mark a piece of work, it needs to be levelled. What we are saying is over a period of time, you should be regularly levelling work. What you should be doing is using the marking policy to confront issues around punctuation, spelling, grammar, to confront issues around understanding. What you shouldn't be doing and shouldn't be having to do is to look at a piece of work and think to yourself, is that a 1? Is that a 2? Is that a 3? Because that would do my head in. I would be completely lost in a world of 1, 2, 3s. But what we are saying, and don't get me wrong here, you must level your work periodically. And for me, that's almost once a fortnight. So I'm saying that once a fortnight, I'm going to give every student I teach a level. In turn, what that will mean when we come to entering data onto data systems, and part of what I'm now doing is looking at how we enter data and how we can be more efficient, is I will then go to the very last piece of work I've marked in the last 2 weeks, for example, and I will be able to offer a level. Does everyone understand that? So I don't need to go back through the whole folder. I don't need to sit there and get 2 exercise books together. I'm looking at a piece of work. I'm looking at the last piece I've marked and said, right, they have made expected progress. Their progress is... And then I'm able to put that straight onto my data entry sheet. And now that Steve has also opened it as real-time data entry, you don't need to wait until the very last minute. Again, I am a last-minute merchant. But I am going to start trying to enter my data as and when in real time. And Steve has already suggested that is good practice. You're not killing yourself on a Wednesday night because Sam Hamer sent out an email saying it's due by 3 o'clock on Thursday afternoon. I do that all the time. But I'm trying not to. Okay? I do not need to use symbols. They are only a suggested framework. Wrong. They are not a suggested framework. They have to be used. Because these symbols allow our young people to have a consistency of expectation. What are we asking from them? What have we noted and noticed in their work? And what are we expecting them to do to improve it? Use the symbols. They are not there just for fun. Right, another set of expectations. I cannot just give positive feedback. You can. I love giving just positive feedback. I love saying to a young person or showing them on their work, absolutely fabulous, Kareem. Well done. Brilliant piece of work. But that positive feedback and that piece of work should form a series of pieces of work that are eventually leveled. Does that make sense? So I may have 3 pieces of work. This morning I'm teaching to Year 11 Business Studies Product Lifecycle. They've already completed 2 pieces of work. The first piece of work was a general feedback piece, along with a marketing policy. Well done. This work is showing tremendous progress. You are starting to really prove what you can do. The second piece of work is now beginning to become a bit more tailored. I'm beginning to say, right, you need to think about, you need to move towards. Have you considered? Today's piece of work is going to be leveled. So from the product life cycle as a topic, I've taken it from general positive feedback through to being leveled. So no one's saying you can't offer positive feedback. We're saying it should form a portfolio, a piece of work, or numerous pieces of work that are put together to eventually level. Right. And the last one. Smart marking methods cannot be used and are not appropriate in general feedback. Wrong. Smart marking methods are actually an excellent example of outstanding practice. Okay? And I've been lucky because I've been able to go around, speak to people. I'm blow a trumpet, but she's right in front of me. I went to Stacey Dean's classroom and she showed me a yellow verbal was it a verbal response sheet?
The marking sheet.
Marking sheet, where Stacey had given some verbal feedback and she'd said to the child, I've given you this verbal feedback, I would like you to record what I've said. And the whole point there is that we as teachers are constantly offering our young people feedback. And we can't always record the fact that it's done. And then in the back of our minds, if you're anything like me, well, I've given all that feedback to the kids, so somewhere I need to record it. Because if I don't record it, it'll get lost in the system. And when I get held to account, it'll be as if I never offered the feedback. Well, in fact, in Stacey's classroom, she's nailed it. I've given you the feedback. Go and get yourself a yellow verbal response sheet. Fill it in for what I have asked the young people to do. Now that's just a flavour of what I wanted us to look at. All of this information is available on the ODrive on the teaching expectation sheet. I will also give you a copy of the PowerPoint. It'll be in your pigeonholes over the next 2 days. Okay? If you've got any questions, you know where I am.